Mr. President, it's always such a privilege to come to the floor and speak and hear Senator Isaacson speak, the senator from Georgia, who speaks so eloquently and comes here and makes perfect points. And he's talked about the tax system looking to the future. What we have is a tax system that looks backward. And regrettably, we had a Treasury Secretary a number of years ago named Bill Simon. He said the nation should have a tax code that looks like someone designed it on purpose. That's what we're trying to do now. Come with a tax code that looks like it was designed on purpose. The person that really understood this was Ronald Reagan. As we take a look at tax proposals, it's not about taxes, it's about much, much more. It's about a better life for the American people. Ronald Reagan said tax reform is the door to a bigger future. I would add a brighter future. He said a future as big and hopeful and full of heart as the American dream. And that's what we're here talking about today. A bright, big future, as big and bright as the American dream. That's what we're aiming at with this plan, a big and hopeful future for all Americans. It all starts with increasing the amount of money Americans get to keep in their pockets as a result of their hard-earned paycheck dollars. That's the most important thing. That's what families are concerned about. That's what I hear about every weekend in Wyoming. Now, under the outline that the Republicans have proposed, every working man and woman in this country will be better off. That's our goal. Make everyone better off. Make the country better off. More prosperous. A strong, healthy economy. That's what we're hearing about today on the floor, what we heard about from the senator from Georgia. You know, when we cut the amount of money that people have to pay in taxes, essentially it's like giving them a raise. That's what this is about, giving people a raise. We want working people to keep more of their hard-earned money. One of the ways you can do that, very popular, is by doubling the standard deduction. Easy math to do. Current standard deduction is around $12,000 for a couple filing jointly. The Republican proposal doubles it, $24,000. That means $24,000 of a couple's income will not be taxed at all, the first $24,000. Beyond that, we're going to reduce the number of tax brackets. People will like that. It's so complicated, the system we have now. Move people into lower brackets. Isn't that what we're trying to do? Yes, it is. If you used to be in a bracket paying 25%, though there's a pretty good chance that a significant amount of your income is going to be moved down to the 12% range. You know, for most people, that's like getting a big raise when they take a look at their paycheck at the end of the week. That's what Republican tax relief looks like. Second thing we want to do is actually make it a lot simpler. We talked about lowering the number of brackets, making it simpler for everyone who does their taxes. You know, the instructions now that you get from the IRS, the 1040 tax form, the instructions are 106 pages long. Now, that's if you just limit yourself to the instructions. But remember, there are 15 different worksheets to be filled out just so you can fill out your 1040 form. When more people take the standard deduction, they can save a lot of time and not have to go to the 15 worksheets, the 106 pages of instructions. They get that standard deduction, which is now doubled, making it a lot easier and a lot less time to be spent on tax reform. What else are we going to do? Well, we want to cut out a lot of the loopholes, the complicated rules that most people will be able to just fill out a form on a single page. Think of the hours that's going to save families. Millions and millions of hours when you multiply it across the country. Plus, think of the stress that people won't have to be living under, wondering if they actually followed the instructions properly. Call the IRS helpline, you get different answers from different people that you talk to. It is hard to get a single answer because the complicated system makes it hard to get the answer right. So you end up with the expenses of hiring lawyers, tax accountants, people that can help you navigate a complicated system. People are looking for simpler lives, more free time, more money of their own that they can keep, not complicated government forms so the government takes more of their money. So there is a lot of room, Mr. President, for us to improve the simplicity of the tax system and the actual challenges that come from filling out the forms. The third thing we want to do, of course, with the plan is get the economy growing faster, a strong and healthy economy, more prosperity, higher take-home pay and part of the paychecks. And with that, you actually get an economy that creates more jobs, more people working, which is a big part of tax reform. It is a direct benefit for American families. When you cut taxes on small businesses, they can afford to hire more people. or they can use the extra money to pay their workers more. There's lots that can be done through that level of prosperity in individual paychecks, as well as more people in the workforce. You know, under the outline that the Republicans have released last week, Mr. President, the top rate for most small businesses is going to drop from almost 40% down to 25%, allowing the businesses to pass on those savings to their customers and the savings to their employees. Well, larger businesses are going to get a tax break too. The idea is to lower taxes for everyone. When you take a look at it from the standpoint of a business owner, 70% of the cost of corporate taxes actually doesn't get paid by a corporation. It gets paid by the people who work for those businesses. So if we cut the taxes, more of that money is going to go to the workers through higher wages, better benefits, more jobs. And businesses can actually lower the prices. Every time the cost of a tax increases, what is it? Business has to raise the cost of the product to be able to collect the tax and send it to the government. I would rather have that money in the pockets of the people that are going and shopping in the store or using that business rather than the pockets of the federal government. Now, Senator Isaacson was talking about something called repatriation and the tax of money that is taxed for businesses that do some business overseas. If we can cut the taxes that they pay on the money they earn overseas, it means that those businesses can bring back that money to the United States and spend it here. How much is it? Well, right now about $2.6 trillion is sitting overseas because those businesses get taxed twice. Once on the business done overseas, and then once on the business done when they bring that profit back to the United States. We get that money back. That's going to help grow the economy here as well. So it makes sure that the American tax code ought to be helping American businesses and the American economy, not helping foreign countries. We need to get that money back and put to work in the United States. Those are all the things that Republicans are proposing. It means more money in the pockets of American workers. It means simpler taxes and more jobs for American workers. I mean, isn't that what we're looking for, Mr. President? Isn't that what prosperity means for America? Isn't that what a healthy economy means? Job growth, the sort of things that happen when we get the kind of tax reform that we've proposed. You know, I want to address one other thing, Mr. President, that I've heard over the past couple of days as our plan has come out. I've heard some members of the other side of the aisle say that under the Republican plan, certain people win more than others. Mr. President, under the Republican plan, the goal is that everyone wins. The American economy wins. We have a growing economy. People keep more of their hard-earned money. That's the goal. That's why the President and Republicans in Congress want to take up tax relief right now in the first place. We need to do this to help all American families. This gets back to Ronald Reagan's quote, tax reform, tax reductions, tax relief, it means a big and hopeful future for all Americans. That should be the goal. It should be the goal of every member of the United States Senate. It should be the goal of every American. We want to make taxes fairer, simpler, lower for everyone. There are too many people in Washington right now, Mr. President, who want to use America's tax laws to punish or reward one group of Americans or another. Too many people in Washington who want to use this debate over tax reform to stir up conflict and resentment. We hear it already in the talking points of the Democrats. There's some Democrats in this Senate who think that that's good politics. Well, it's terrible policy and terrible for the direction of our country and for our economy. The tax plan that the Republicans have released this last week does nothing to change who bears the burden of taxes in the country. People who have been fortunate, who earn high incomes, will pay their fair share. People who earn less will pay less. That's how the tax burden is spread today. There's nothing in this plan that changes that. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We're getting through the details, Mr. President. We're going to have to figure out things like the exact income levels for each of the tax brackets, the size of some of the tax credits that families get. These are all important details. That's the kind of debate that we're going to be having, a markup on the budget, and then a tax bill coming through committees. You know, I'm so grateful to Senator Hatch, to members of the Finance Committee, for all of the hard work that they're going to be putting into this over the next several weeks. But of course, I'm going to refer back to the quote from the Treasury Secretary Bill Simon, who said, "The nation should have a tax code that looks like someone designed it on purpose." This is our chance. This is our chance, Mr. President. We need to make sure we take full advantage of it. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.